You're listening to the Leading Healthy Creative Teams podcast with Matt Curtis. This is the podcast that helps you take your creative team from wherever you are today to healthy and effective.
This week, we're going to talk about what it looks like to have a healthy creative team. Before we can do this work of understanding, how we're supposed to get to the place of having a healthy creative team, we have to understand what a healthy creative team even looks like. I saw a post recently on Instagram that I thought was pretty insightful. It was talking about relationships. And the premise was we have a really good picture of what a toxic relationship looks like. Because it seems like every other post about relationships is about toxicity and about problems and about issues. And so this poster, which I thought was a really good approach, said, I'm gonna paint you a picture of what a healthy relationship looks like. Because if you can see it, you can see that it exists. In some ways, it actually helps you recognize that you're not in a healthy relationship in that context, but it also helps you know what to aspire toward. And in many ways, it actually helps you make adjustments, sometimes subconsciously, because you think, well, that's not showing what health looks like. So I'm going to make some adjustments on my end. So I'm going to paint a picture for you about what a healthy creative team looks like. And then from there, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to go through and look at what I consider, the terms that I'm using, I'm calling them the 4 cores of a healthy creative team. And so these are the traits. It's not skills, it's not attitudes, but it's the components that make up creatives. And those being in balance are so key for the net result we're going for here, which is a healthy creative team. So the 5 things I have for you today, 5 things that healthy creative teams say. The first is this. Ooh, what if we, and there's kind of like a sly grin on their face. What if we have an animal stampede run through the campus? Or, ooh, what if we have rockets going off after service, like model rockets? That would be so cool. Okay, what this is indicative of, it's a safe place for people to dream creatively, to come up with harebrained ideas. Sometimes these ideas are so outlandish that the person sharing the idea can't keep themselves from laughing in the process of delivering the idea. But it's really a hallmark of a healthy creative team, because of what it means is that creating is fun, imagination is at play. It means that there is no limitation on the idea until, like, at the beginning. You start with your dream and then you refine it down from there into something that's practical. So you'll hear that a lot on a healthy creative team, often in a brainstorm, sometimes interpersonal conversations. You're kind of riffing off of each other. I think of it like a band in the garage, and the bass player throws something down, and then the guitarist is like, oh, hang on, let me try this. And then the drummer is like, oh man, it would be great. Let's do this. And just like that, you have a new song. You have, an amazing jam session, whatever. But that's something that you hear often in a healthy creative team. The second thing that you hear often in a creative team, a healthy creative team. All right, let me try a few things. Experimentation is such an important part of the creative process. If you expect your creative team to go from, hey, we need a new series, to, hey, it's done, without a lot of winds, it's a windy road, there's going to be indirect paths from where you start to where you end. That is how the creative process works. And so you're going to need to anticipate that as you're leading a team. And that's why in a healthy context, there's the margin necessary for the team to say, hey, let me try a few things. What this means is I'm going to mock up a couple options. It means I'm going to explore a couple different ways to solve the problem. It means, I'm going to do some research on a couple different services. Let me build this out a little bit and see which services look to yield what we're looking for, and see which ones maybe fall short, maybe which ones don't, hit the original goal or the ambition that we had for it. Let me try a few things. Experimentation is okay and is good. The third thing that you hear a lot on a healthy creative team is, hey, I have an update on that project. Now, I don't know where your creative team sits, but that may be unheard of. You may have never heard that before. But the reality is that a good, healthy, creative team is constantly bringing, let's use this term, is constantly bringing the client back into the conversation. If your creative team runs away into a hole and doesn't involve anybody else in the process, there's an unhealth to that. And what happens is, over time in particular, it breeds toxicity and it breeds just a lot of not good things. And so when your team is saying, hey, I have an update on the project, what they're doing is they're being proactive about transparency. Sure, they're saying, hey, we want to invite you into the process, but they're also giving you a little bit of insight here. It means that they have some systems that are working really well. Now, we're going to look at systems in a couple weeks, but that's what some of the, that's what this phrase or this statement, hey, I have an update on the project, it's really ticking a lot of the boxes. It's saying we're organized and we have systematic updates. It's saying, I care about your ministry and I want to bring you along with me in the process. It's saying, I want you to know what we're doing for your event. It's saying, please be a part of this with us. And so there's a lot of really good things happening if you're hearing that. Hey, I have an update on the project. Now, sometimes we'll talk more in depth on all of these things. This is just kind of that overview of what does a healthy team even look like. This is a really key one, though. I want to call it out now. This is a really key one. If you're not hearing this, it's an indication that something's off balance. In a lot of cases, it means that the workflow or the workload is too high. In some cases, it does mean that the systems aren't working right. But often when your creatives are trying to get done a lot of stuff at a very fast pace, this is one of the first things that goes is, hey, I have an update. You tend to get fewer updates because they're just trying to stay above water. So just keeping that in the back of your mind, that's a thing to look out for. The fourth thing here, can we talk through that request? That's a great one. Can we talk through that request? So you're giving your creative team information. You're giving them something, a project, a request. Hey, I need a postcard. Hey, I need a flyer. Hey, we're promoting a major event. Whatever it is, you're giving them something. When they come back to you and ask for a conversation around it, that is such a great sign. Because what it means is that they're not looking to just pull a solution out of their hat for you. They're not looking to just make up some, kind of intellectual or academic response to the problem that you're presenting. They are actually looking to participate alongside you and to really bring you into this conversation about solving the problem. Really the foundational understanding of the creative space. I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's artsy fartsy. Oh, it's abstract. Oh, it's opinionated. Oh, this person just has good taste. Those are the kinds of things that I hear often swirling around the creative team. The reality is that there are standards. There are clear strategies and there are mechanisms and frameworks that lead us to better work. And so it's not nearly as abstract of a space as many imagine it to be. When someone brings you in to talk through that request, they're saying, let's have a partnership where we can lock arms and we can both look at the problem that we're trying to solve. That is the fundamental understanding of the creative team. It is a problem-solving team. And often the solutions are, you'd say they're creative. They're kind of out there. They're unconventional. And that's what you want. That's the benefit of having a creative team in your organization, is that it allows your team to solve problems as a whole in a more creative way. And so if you hope to be reaching a group of people that's hard to reach, creativity can empower you to do that, can enable you to do that, can help equip you to do that more effectively. So if your team is asking you to participate, hey, can we talk through that request? I need some clarity. I just want to make sure I'm hitting the mark here. Now what you're saying here is you want these things. What do you think about this? Are you okay if we do something a little bit different? That type of a back and forth conversation is fantastic and incredibly healthy in a creative team. And then number 5, the fifth thing here that I want to elevate in terms of what a creative team says, a healthy creative team, what a healthy creative team says sorry about that. I made a mistake. Now, this is probably the most uncommon of the things on the list. There's a real tendency in certain environments to feel like you have to justify everything, to feel like you have to defend everything. And so if a mistake gets made, then there is a nervous energy around that conversation where the creative team, leader, whatever it looks like in your context, the person feels like they have to be on the defensive. Hey, well, it was your fault. You didn't give me the content till the last minute. You didn't give me enough time to really, do my due diligence. And that might be true. So hear that. I remember there was a season of my career where we were going so fast for so long. My boss came in and said, "Hey, Matt, we got a postcard," and there were a couple typos on it. And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure there were." But she's kind of stunned for a second. "What do you mean you're sure there were?" And I said, "We are going so fast right now, and we have been for so long. I don't have the space that I need in order to apply the due diligence that I need to in order to make sure that everything's accurate that's coming through the doors of my office. I just can't get this stuff done. And the stuff that I am getting done, it's like razor thin margins on time. Like the print shop closes at 5:00 on Friday and I'm getting a request at 4:40. It's that kind of turnaround where I have to put something together so quickly for that upcoming weekend that mistakes are being made. And you know what? I was right. I was right, because there are seasons that are that hectic. And there are seasons where there is an increasingly probable, chance, a higher and higher chance of inaccuracies making it out the door. But the healthy team is one that owns mistakes. And so rather than just saying, yes, other things are the problem, instead it's saying, you know what, man, that's my mistake. That came through me and I missed it. So I've thought about it for a while. And see, this is what would have been a better and a healthier response. Instead of me just blaming the system or blaming the season, instead, I should have said, you know what? I'm sorry. That's my mistake. I missed it. I'm finding that I'm not really able to do this effectively right now. I just don't have enough time to do everything, to do the design work, the creative work, and also the proofing work. And so that's the part that seems to be falling short. So can we build a system? Can you help me? It's kind of like can we talk through that request? It's a request for partnership. Hey, can you come around with me? Lock arms. We're partners now. And we're looking at the problem. The problem in that instance was typos, mistakes on the copy and some of the postcards that were being printed. So can you come alongside me and can we collaboratively solve this problem together? So a lot of what these statements really are about, they're about humility. They're about understanding the role of the creative in the organization. There's also a layer of clear vision, clear mission. I know what I'm creating for. I am creating for the purpose of XYZ. And so having clarity in a lot of those areas is going to be critical. And we'll talk about that. That's going to be honestly, that may be an entire series just because of how important that is to the creative to be successful. And for the team to be healthy. It's to have something to create against almost, a measure. But those are things that I have found over the years when the teams that I'm either on or leading are healthy and we are in a really good spot. These are the things that we say. We dream more. Oh, well, what if we try? Have we tried this? Can we do? Can we do that? We also say things like, let me try a few things. I got some ideas and I want to kind of experiment a little bit. We say things like, hey, can I update you on the project? I want to let you know where things are. I want to invite you in mid-project so that we can make sure that we're on the right page, on the right track. Hey, can we talk through that request? I'd love your input. And then, the big one, sorry about that. I made a mistake. My fault. I apologize. So owning those things, so those are the things that I like to look at as kind of that really high level sort of, test. Where's our team? What exactly does our team look like right now? Are we healthy? Are we where we need to be? Or am I not hearing a lot of those phrases? I would encourage you to do this. there's a step deeper that there's many layers to the assessment kind of idea. This is a very, very high level, like, oh man, I don't really hear those things that often. Okay, well then let's start looking into it. The step I would love for you to take is go to lunchtimeheroes.co, and there's an assessment. You'll see it. It's a pop-up window. If you've already been to the site before, it's the first thing kind of on the main screen on the header. But it'll click on the link and it'll take you to an assessment, and it'll help you discover what your creative team's superpower is. And I really want to make sure that that's emphasized. Teams are good at things. A team that's unhealthy isn't actually a bad team. And that's a misnomer. I think often we assume that an unhealthy team is full of toxic people. And I have actually found that often it's systems that aren't working created by really good people. That's where toxicity tends to show up, because it brews unhealthily for too long. So we're going to get into that as we go through this series, but go to lunchtimeheroes.co, check out the assessment, and take the test. It's free. It's just going to give you insights in terms of how your team is doing, and it rates you based on the 4 cores that we're going to be talking about over the next couple weeks. So that would be a great first step for you to get that assessment going. And then tune in next week when we start talking through the 4 cores and really kind of take a deep dive on each individual core so you can understand what makes your creative team tick.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Leading Healthy Creative Teams. This podcast is just one of the ways Lunchtime Heroes helps build healthy creative teams in the church. Stay up to date on the latest by signing up for the Creative Bites email at lunchtimeheroes.co.